Hello, this is Jeff, the Day Trade Mechanic. It's May 30th, 2022, and today I want to do a review of a trade that recently closed for me in NXP Semiconductors. Stock symbol NXPI, which I have up on the chart here. Now I'm using the thinkorswim platform. We're on a daily chart, and I'm using thinkorswim's OnDemand, and I've set the clock back to March 23rd, 2022. That's the day I entered this trade. I liked the daily chart setup. We had lower low, lower low, lower low, higher low, and we had had a nice run, and we'd had a 3-bar pullback to the 20 period moving average, which is my blue line. My green line is the 50-day, my red line is the 200-day. So my strategy was to sell a cash secured put on this day, and I went and did the 185 strike with April 1st expiration. And I routed that order at 5:30, and I was filled at 5:30 on this date. So my thinking was, I might buy this back if I could buy it back for $2 or less, but I didn't know. I might hold it till expiration. Should have had more of a plan. That was mistake number one on this trade. So let's scroll forward now in time to April 1st. Actually, before I go to April 1st, I want to go to March 29th, because the stock had rallied a little bit since I got into the trade, and then on this day it gapped up over all of this, and early in the day it put in a high of around of over 196. But I want to show you the option premium on that date. Now NXP options are spready, and I learned that as I went forward with this trade. But this would have been a great time to have bought that back. I could have bought it back and for, I don't know, 50 cents, 60 cents. Heck, even if I'd have paid 90 cents, I would have made the lion's share on that premium. Because as we'll go forward, we'll see what the stock did. Okay, now I'm going to set the time and the date to April 1st. And we'll go about... How about 15 minutes before the close that day? And we're buffering here. Sorry for the dead air. I should have paused this. Okay, here we go. So we'll look at the daily chart again, and look what happened from March 29th on. Now here I am. I'm still holding this put, and I'm going to get assigned. But I was okay with assignment when I took the trade. And I thought the way this stock moves, I will probably be okay. So, I can't remember where it closed April 1st, but suffice it to say it closed 185, under 185. I got assigned shares at 185, but I did bring in $5.30 of option premium on the trade. Now I've set the date back up to April 18th because I waited until this day to sell my first covered call. As you can see, we really had a sell-off on the stock, and I'm sure the market was exactly the same way. Well, we finally had a decent green day on the 18th, so I sold my first covered call on the trade. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, we finally had what looked like a bottom in NXP. So I did sell my first covered call today. I sold the 190 strike with April 29th expiry. I got $1.10 for it, and as you can see, the high of the day was 176.73. I'm not sure where the stock was at when I sold my call, but suffice it to say it was higher than 172. That call wound up expiring worthless, and I pocketed that $1.10. No, that's incorrect. I wound up covering that call for 5 cents, thinking that I would be able to sell another call going forward. But I was not able to for a couple of weeks. I'm going to pause this, and we'll bring the date up to May 3rd. Okay, this is May 3rd. I again sold another 190 covered call with May 13th expiration. And let me see what I got for that. I got $2.05. Now this one I did hold, and it expired worthless on May 13th. So I've set the date up to May 17th, which was a Tuesday, I believe. And I sold another 190 strike call for May 20th expiration. And I got $1.55 for that one. This would have been this one here. And that call expired worthless. So the next trade was on May 25th, and I'm going to reset the clock here. Time and date. This has to buffer a little bit. Now that was this past week. This was Wednesday. And okay, on the 27th, or I'm sorry, the 25th, and on this date, a few things happened. Let me pause this. I want to go back earlier in the day. You notice the price is 183. I want to go back earlier in the day. We're going to go back to just after 12:30 p.m. Okay, stock's trading at 180. Now, on that day, I'm going to bring up a 15-minute chart. We were struggling to break through this 181, 182, and I was getting frustrated and impatient. It was Wednesday. I wanted to sell some premium, and I wanted to sell some premium that expired on Friday the 27th. So I had the order placed to sell this call for $1.70. Well, I believe it was around 1 o'clock when the Fed minutes were released. So we'll set the time ahead to 1:15 that day. And I know the price of this shot up because I actually had to be away that afternoon. I was away for about 3 hours, so I had my order placed, and I got an alert that I had been filled. And you can see here that this was probably me. There was a... Well, maybe that wasn't me. Anyway, I was filled on that day at 170. And look what we did here. We broke out, and we'll run this up to date here. We'll run this up to current in a minute. Let's just set this up to about the close. We'll set this up to 3 o'clock on the 25th, and look what NXP did that day, and I believe the whole market did the same thing. So I'm thinking, well, this is not too bad. I got my 170 call sold. NXP had hardly been over 185 since I got into the trade on March 23rd. So I'm going to pause this. We'll go to current date, which will be May 30th, and we'll look at the daily chart. Okay, I just got out of OnDemand, and we're back in real time here. It's of course the market's closed, but this is a daily chart of NXP going back pretty much this year. This was the 25th of May, which is Wednesday. That's the date I sold my 185 covered call. But I just wanted to point out on this chart how few times NXP had been at my cost during the life of my trade. Now, of course, it poked up here on the 29th of March, and it was over 185 on the 30th of March. But we go all the way to April 20th before we were over 185 again. And then it was just for that day. Then May 5th, we got to 186.02. And then May 17th we were 185.87. So I'm thinking that I'm going to be okay with a 2.5 day hold on this call. So let's go forward now to Thursday the 26th. And I always do that backwards. Okay, well, we had a nice breakout, and we closed that day. What did we close that day? 192.63. And at this point, I said to myself, if I get called away, I get called away. I'm not going to make any money on the shares, but I did make some nice option premium, and we'll go one day forward to Friday the 27th, and NXP hit a high that day of 198.28. So suffice it to say, I got my shares called away. Now, I got really impatient on Friday. I wanted to sell some premium, and I was bound and determined that premium was going to expire May 27th. I wish I had went out further in time to at least the 10th of June, and I would have been happy with selling a 190, maybe even a 187.50. But, you know, lesson learned, I need to be a little bit more patient with these trades in the future. And I probably should have done some things differently that first week of the trade. This day here, I must have been asleep at the wheel early that morning, because we looked at the option chain right at the open that day, and I believe my short put was trading between 37 and 90 cents. That could have been bought back under $1. As we see what happened here, that would have been a very nice move. But I was probably thinking on this day that this was going to be the breakout, and we were going to run from there. So we'll take a look at my spreadsheet real quick. Okay, so here's the final tally on this trade. The top is the options trade. This was my cash secured put, and I was able to sell 4 covered calls. I bought 1 back to close, and my net options profit was $11.6244 less fees and commissions. Down here at the bottom was the stock trade. I bought the stock at 185. I sold the stock at 185. I was charged 43 cents in fees to place this trade. Bring this over here. This is the final tally. I made 6.28% profit on my money in a little over 2 months. 1,162.01 net profit. Bottom line is, I'll take it. I'll go forward. I don't know if I'm going to trade NXPI again. I may not. I'll tell you what, I like the way the stock moves, but this, I learned something on this trade. These options are spready, and it's hard to get filled on. I know there was times where I would undercut the offer by a nickel or dime. Couldn't get filled. The stock had to move for me to get filled on this stock. The volume is low, and the options are spready. But I will take this money, put it back into my account, and I'll run a wheel strategy on NXPI or something else. As always, I appreciate you watching. If you like this content, I'd appreciate if you'd like the video, and if you like the channel, I'd be happy if you'd subscribe. Until next time, this is Jeff, the Day Trade Mechanic.